I wanted to go on to talk about Uber in Oxford because it's a little passion topic of mine. But, Emily, it's just too interesting what has said, because we have found that the retail sector, the travel and tourism sector, the delivery sector, in all of our security conferences and meetings that we're having, they're kind of absent. They've not been there. They're not proactively interested in this. We don't know who they are. They're starting to call us.
That's right. We're starting to see interest from them, but it's clearly a problem that is beyond the capability of one actor to do. But I'm very struck by what you were saying about, Russia's constitution preventing extradition. And what some of the mood music I'm picking up in these conferences about scams and fraud, classic crime, is people are now starting to weave in categorizations of national security threats, which clearly unlocks a whole different toolbox for states. And the way that you were talking about ransomware it's all about stoking up fear, and then that reassurance very much is resonant of the sort of terrorism threat, because actually terrorism works if the population is afraid and limits what it does. So just a couple of words from you on national security threat, and also about how do companies protect themselves and recover from these sort of devastating attacks. And then I want to move on to Uber.
So very quickly, I think on the national security point, I was serving in government when organised crime became categorised as a national security threat. And I was always a bit sceptical, sort of thing that sounded good and made people feel better and made them feel sort of prioritised. But I think in terms of cyber organised crime, it's about the impact as much as the fear. So last June, we had some of the biggest hospitals in South London operating at 10% capacity for a week, and the government issued an emergency appeal for blood donations for 2 types of blood that they were running out of for transfusions. Now, the cause of that is a cyber attack on a private sector provider to Guy's and St Thomas's NHS Trust. If that had occurred by some form of physical sabotage, that would be treated as an act of terrorism, or a very serious crime, probably an act of terrorism if it had some sort of political motivation. So it is a national security threat. In terms of how organizations protect themselves, and I keep banging on about this, but there is a playbook. It's about assessing what matters most. There's about then perimeter defenses and keeping people out. There's then how your ability to detect people who do get in, your ability to mitigate what they can do, and then your ability to recover. And I think the last bit is becoming crucial. It's a bit like the sort of self-reflection we've all had as societies post-COVID about the just-in-time society. I mean, I think every organization should probably have to plan for the loss of a key computer network. And are you at 0% for 10 weeks, or are you at 50% after 1 week? Because there's a huge difference in that. It's not really a cyber issue, it's a sort of business planning issue. So those are the sorts of things that organizations should be doing. And again, this is the point I keep coming back on to. I think, and I'm pleased the government's doing something about this with forthcoming legislation, hitherto, all the incentives in terms of law, corporate governance and so on are to say, protect personal data first and foremost. No, stop. Personal data is important, although in this case, it's in most of the M&S and Co-op stuff, it's little more than a glorified 21st century of the old-fashioned phone book. So prioritize your ability to keep your business running, particularly if it's a critical service.